Most people assume that if they were never convicted of the crime with which they were charged, their arrest just disappears. Unfortunately, in New Jersey, that's not true, and believing that keeps thousands of people stuck with records they could have cleared. I see this all the time with people who had an arrest in New Jersey, were never convicted, and honestly thought that there's nothing left to deal with. But when it comes to expungement, that assumption can quietly cause real problems. So here's what we're going to cover, because this is where most people get tripped up. First, I'm going to explain what never convicted actually means under New Jersey law and whether the way your case ended really qualifies, even if you were arrested, charged, or put into a program. Second, we'll talk about timing. I'll walk you through when you can expunge an arrest immediately, when you have to wait, and why situations like conditional discharges follow different rules that people often misunderstand. And third, I'll explain what happens if you do nothing, how that arrest can continue to show up, who can see it, and why ignoring it can quietly cost you opportunities you didn't even realize were connected to your record. Let me start with something we can all relate to. Think about a piece of mail that comes in and doesn't look important. You set it aside. Days go by, then weeks, then months. Eventually, you forget about it completely. And then one day, you finally open it and realize it actually mattered a lot more than you thought. That's exactly how a lot of people treat a New Jersey arrest that never led to a conviction. They assume the system took care of it. They think, I was never convicted, so there's nothing left to worry about. So they never look into expungement. They never ask the question. And then, years later, they're shocked when that arrest still shows up on a background check. Here's the key point you need to understand. In New Jersey, arrests don't disappear on their own. If no one takes action, that record stays exactly where it is. The problem isn't the arrest itself. It's the misunderstanding about how the system works. So let's clear that up. When people say they were never convicted, that can actually mean a few different things under New Jersey law. It can mean the charges were dismissed by a judge. It can mean the prosecutor dropped the charge. Or it can mean there was a not guilty verdict at a trial. It can also include certain municipal ordinances violations that ended up without a conviction. What matters isn't that you were arrested. What matters is how the case ended. And a lot of people honestly don't know the technical outcome of their own case. That confusion is very common, and is why so many people either assume they qualify when they don't, or assume they don't qualify when they actually do. Now, here's the general rule. Under New Jersey law, when a case is discharged without a conviction, the arrest is generally eligible for expungement. In many situations, that eligibility exists immediately after the case ends. But, and this is critical, eligibility does not mean the record is automatically removed. Nothing happens unless someone applies for expungement. If no one files, the arrest stays on your record. This is where we need to slow down and talk about the biggest exception I see. Conditional discharges and pretrial interventions are different. These cases involved a supervisory program lasting anywhere from 6 months to 3 years, after which the charges are dismissed. Because of that, there's a waiting period. In New Jersey, you have to wait 6 months after the dismissal before you can apply for expungement. Filing too early can lead to a denial or delay. That doesn't mean you're permanently disqualified, it just means timing matters. This is where a lot of people get tripped up. Some people file too early and get frustrated when nothing happens. Others wait years longer than they need to because they assume there's a mandatory waiting period when there isn't. And some people don't file at all because they think they're not eligible. All of these mistakes cost time. They keep arrests on records longer than necessary. And most of the time, they're caused by bad or incomplete information, especially things people read online. So, what happens if you do nothing? If you don't pursue the expungement, that arrest can continue to show up on background checks. Employers can see it, landlords can see it, licensing boards can see it. They will also know if you answer honestly to the question, have you ever been arrested? This isn't about punishment, it's about how records are stored and accessed unless someone takes steps to remove them. Ignoring the issue doesn't make it go away. It just lets it keep affecting decisions behind the scenes. Now, at a very high level, here's what expungement actually involves. It's a process, not a form. It means filing with the court, notifying multiple agencies, and waiting for an order to be processed. Accuracy matters. Missing something or filing at the wrong time can slow everything down. The goal here isn't to overwhelm you with steps, but to help you to understand that this is something that needs to be done correctly. One last thing to understand, and it's important. Expungement limits public access and most background checks, but it doesn't mean your criminal record is erased in every possible way. Certain law enforcement or court related access can still exist. If you want to become a police officer or somebody else in law enforcement or a prison guard or someone that works in a prison, these things can still come up. That's normal, and it's how the law works. Knowing that up front helps avoid unrealistic expectations. At this point, you know that an arrest without a conviction may be eligible for expungement, but applying the rules correctly to your specific record is critical. Many cases involve multiple charges, linked arrests, or convictions that must be handled together. Small mistakes can delay the process. So please don't take this as legal advice for your case or the be all and end all to your expungement situation. You need to consult with an attorney that does expungements to analyze your case and be sure. Now, if you're seeking expungement of an arrest or an arrest along with convictions, and those charges arose in Burlington, Camden, Gloucester, Salem, or Cumberland County, New Jersey, you don't have to figure this out on your own. Click the link in the description below to schedule a call with my office, and we'll talk you through the situation, your eligibility, and your next steps.